TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation.
Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts that the war against Iran and its proxies in the region is incomplete. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz claims that the IRGC leadership is humiliating the United States. And the Russian President Vladimir Putin pledges to stand by Iran. The war against the Islamic Republic of Iran and its regional proxies, to include the Lebanese Hezbollah in particular, is incomplete. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in an address to senior command of the IDF, focused primarily on the Lebanese file, where the Iranian proxy Hezbollah is proactively undermining the US-led diplomatic efforts by the state of Lebanon to reach a viable resolution to the conflict with Israel.
In Lebanon, there have been tremendous achievements: the elimination of the rocket array that threatened the entire country, the creation of a security zone that prevents the possibility of an invasion into the north of the country, and now also prevents the firing of direct anti-tank missiles, but also allows us to change the situation in Lebanon. We are attacking as we are now both in the security zone, both north of the security zone, both north of the Litani. Our freedom of action aims to thwart threats, immediate threats, and emerging threats. This is the agreement we made with the United States and also with the Lebanese government. I am not deluding myself that this will come easily. I also do not think, I say this honestly, the work is not complete. There are still two major threats from Lebanon, from Hezbollah: the threat of the 122-inch rockets, the threat of the drones and UAVs. This requires a combination of operational activity and technological activity. The Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff know this well. We are making a very large technological effort to solve these problems. And if by combining operational and technological efforts we solve them, we are essentially on the way to disarming Hezbollah, because this is the main weapon they have. This is what it has left. It has about 10% of the missiles it had at the beginning of the war. But these are still troubling the residents of the north, and I greatly appreciate their resilience, their steadfastness. But we have two tasks left, and what I expect from you is to solve these two problems, because I believe we will be able to resolve the diplomatic aspect if we have solved these.
At a separate event in which Israeli Mossad operators who've excelled in the line of duty received commendation awards, the intelligence agency's director, David Barnea, highlighted the crucial role which Mossad served during the high-intensity campaigns in both Iran and Lebanon.
This recent period, Mossad has turned into a highly effective offensive and defensive organization, including during the wars themselves. In the respective campaigns against Iran and Hezbollah, we worked shoulder to shoulder with the IDF, both in defense and offense, and we exerted influence based on relative advantages and true partnership, in attacking targets in the heart of Tehran, in thwarting senior figures, in achieving air superiority, and in protecting the Israeli home front.
Director Barnea continued by stressing the imperative for Mossad not to rest on its laurels.
The operations that won a commendation award this year allowed us to break through boundaries in Lebanon and Iran. We obtained strategic and tactical intelligence on the enemy's core secrets. We demonstrated new and groundbreaking operational capabilities in those target countries. We demonstrated the effectiveness of a powerful, innovative array for striking our enemies. We implemented the covert diplomatic campaign that is critically important for creating regional alliances and expanding Israel's strategic depth. Together with the IDF, we changed the strategic posture of the State of Israel and strengthened its strength. At the same time, we are committed to being vigilant, we are committed to intelligence and operational boldness, and we are committed to the principle of action. We will not rest on our laurels, and when we see a threat, we will act with full force.
נפעל במלוא העוצמה.
Meanwhile, vis-a-vis Iran, the Ayatollah regime has relayed yet another offer to the Trump administration, which, according to reports, essentially calls for the opening of the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for talks on its nuclear portfolio in a future date.
The president has met with his national security team this morning. The proposal was being discussed. I don't want to get ahead of the president or his national security team. What I will reiterate is that the president's red lines with respect to Iran have been made very, very clear, not just to the American public, but also to them as well. I wouldn't say they're considering it. I would just say that there was a discussion this morning that I don't want to get ahead of, and you'll hear directly from the president, I'm sure, on this topic very soon.
In a subsequent Fox News exclusive with U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, Washington's top diplomat was asked on the latest reported offer by the terror regime in Iran.
Reports do indicate Iran has offered to open the straits, but they want to delay conversations about their nuclear program. Would this be acceptable to the Trump administration?
Well, again, I'm not going to speculate about the president's decision-making on this matter. Suffice it to say that the nuclear question is the reason why we're in this in the first place. Look what they've done with the Straits. Great example. The Straits is basically the equivalent of an economic nuclear weapon that they're trying to use against the world. And they're bragging about it. They're putting up billboards in Tehran bragging about how they can hold 25% or 20% of the world's energy hostage. Imagine if those same people had access to a nuclear weapon. They would hold the whole region hostage.
Fox News' chief correspondent, Trey Yingst, went on to ask about what may happen if diplomacy fails.
If there is no deal, what comes next?
Well, again, that's the president's decision to make. I would start out by reminding everybody that the level of sanctions on Iran are extraordinary, the pressure on Iran is extraordinary, and I think more can be brought to bear.
According to German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who started out as one of the most vocal European supporters of the military campaign against the Ayatollah regime in Iran, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps is humiliating the Trump administration in the negotiations, as the Ayatollah regime is clearly not negotiating in good faith. Therefore, according to the prerogative of the German leader, the United States does not have a clear exit strategy for the war.
Die Amerikaner haben offensichtlich keine Strategie.
The Americans clearly have no strategy, and the problem with conflicts like this is always that you don't just have to go in, you also have to get out again. We saw that all too painfully in Afghanistan for 20 years. We saw it in Iraq. So this whole affair is, as I said, ill-considered, to say the least. At the moment, I cannot see what strategic exit the Americans are now opting for, especially as the Iranians are obviously negotiating very skillfully, or, rather, very skillfully, not negotiating and letting the Americans travel to Islamabad only to leave again without any results. An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian state leadership, especially by these so-called Revolutionary Guards.
Vor allem durch diese sogenannten Revolutionsgarden.
It is worth pointing out that the Islamic Republic of Iran is in a desperate state of internal pressure, with its own economy said to be on a verge of collapse within a matter of weeks. Therefore, its patrons, China and Russia, are doing everything within their power, limited to their own national security interests, to assist the Ayatollah regime to survive. This was publicly conveyed to Tehran's top diplomat during a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow.
I would like you to convey my most sincere words of gratitude and to confirm that Russia, same as Iran, intends to continue our strategic relations. We see how courageously and heroically the Iranian people are fighting for their independence and sovereignty. Of course, we very much hope that, based on this courage and will for independence, the Iranian people will, under the leadership of a new leader, make it through this difficult period of trials and that peace will follow. From our side, we will do everything that is in your interest, and the interests of all nations in the region, so that peace is reached as soon as possible. You know our position very well. I was asked to confirm during this visit that Russian-Iranian relations is a strategic partnership and will remain that way moving forward. It was proven that Iran has friends and allies, such as Russia, who stand by Iran during difficult times and support Iran. We thank you for firm position in support of Iran.
Meanwhile, at the UN headquarters in New York, Chinese Ambassador Fu Kong baselessly claimed, in accordance with the Chinese Communist Party line, that the Ayatollah regime in Iran is the victim of an illegal act of aggression by the United States and Israel.
The Strait of Hormuz serves as a vital international passage for goods and energy trade. Safeguarding peace, stability, and unimpeded navigation in this region is in the common interest of the international community. The root cause of the obstruction of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz is the U.S. and Israel's illegal military operations against Iran. The U.S. also increased military deployments and targeted blockade actions. Even after a temporary ceasefire agreement had been reached, these are dangerous and irresponsible actions. The fundamental solution to shipping disruptions in the strait lies in achieving a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire at an early date and restoring peace and stability in the Gulf and the wider Middle East region. China appreciates the mediation efforts made by Pakistan and other countries, urging relevant parties to resolve disputes through political and diplomatic means and opposing all acts that undermine the ceasefire and escalate conflicts.
Following the Security Council meeting, which focused on maritime safety, the Ayatollah regime's ambassador to the UN unabashedly claimed that his country had consistently upheld maritime security and freedom of navigation in the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman.
Iran has consistently upheld maritime security and freedom of navigation in the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman. For decades, Iran has fulfilled its responsibilities as a coastal state. Since 28 February, the United States and Israel have waged an unlawful war of aggression against Iran in violation of UN Charter, disrupting maritime security and threatening regional peace. The United States has imposed maritime blockade and has engaged in unlawful action, including seizure of Iranian commercial vessels in international waters.
The Iranian ambassador further highlighted that Tehran was not a party to the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, and therefore it was not bound by its provisions. Meanwhile, it is important to highlight that in light of Iran's continued defiance of American demands and following President Trump's Security Council meeting, separate, uncorroborated reports to include from the New York Times reveal that the U.S. leadership has come to terms that the only path forward to tackle Iran's nuclear weapon aspirations is by military means. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you would like to help support TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, you can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.